Chapter 1. You cannot control your anxiety, but you can change your behavior. Don't Feed the Monkey Mind is a revolutionary and relatable take on anxiety management. You may have tried to control your anxiety in the past and found that many of these techniques failed. Jennifer Shannon prefers to challenge anxiety and change behavior. Having suffered from anxiety herself, Shannon knows what she is talking about. She will teach you how to develop resilience to the anxiety in your mind so you'll be able to think more clearly when faced with an anxiety-triggering situation and allow the rational part of your brain to be louder than the monkey in your mind. Overcoming anxiety means taking control of your thoughts. You can do it. By following the advice and exercises throughout the book, you will better understand your anxiety and realize that it does not define you. It isn't the sum of who you are. From there, you can work to reduce its grip by changing the very behavior that is fueling its hunger and volume. This is my promise to you. Once you learn how to respond to anxiety wisely rather than reacting to it, not only will you become resilient to anxiety, but infinite possibilities will open up for you. Jennifer Shannon. Chapter 2. Do you hear the monkey in your mind? A monkey in your mind? You might be thinking that's the most absurd thing you've ever heard, but wait just a second. Thousands of years ago, the human brain was compared to a monkey brain. Monkeys constantly leap around, always hyperactive, jumping from one place to another and never taking the time to rest. And that's what researchers have found the human brain to do. If you have an anxious mind, as millions of people do, the monkey mind refers to the anxiety that seeks to control you every second of the day. The constant stream of negative self-talk and what-if thoughts comprise the monkey chatter that echoes in your mind. Anxiety is the monkey mind, a constantly switched on and worry-ridden part of your brain. The problem is that the monkey is quite greedy. It's hungry and wants food, and so you are constantly feeding it by fueling its anxiety-loving tendencies. You do this by continuing the same types of behavior you think are fighting your anxiety, but in fact, you're making it worse. You're fueling your anxiety. The monkey doesn't sleep. It's always there in your mind. And the more you try to resist it with the anxiety-controlling techniques you were probably taught in the past, the more determined it is to be heard. But you can control the monkey with a little hard work. Learning to deal with anxiety isn't about controlling it. It's about changing your mindset and learning a new set of coping behaviors. You need to learn that anxiety is not who you are. It is a small part of who you are, and once you separate yourself from the monkey in your mind, you're halfway there. Think for a few minutes about how many hours you spend worrying. It's unlikely to be a total of 24 hours, so that you can understand that worry is just a part of your day. Not all of it. Hence, worry is just a part of you, not all of you. Did you know an estimated 275 million people suffer from anxiety disorders worldwide? Chapter 3. Your monkey mind always presumes a threat is at large. When you suffer from anxiety, you live in an almost constant state of fear. Your brain gives you a drip feed of stress hormones that do nothing but fuel your anxiety even further. The human brain is always on the lookout for a threat simply because it's attempting to keep you safe from harm. The amygdala is a small, almond-sized organ that sits at the top of your spinal cord, and everything you experience in your life runs through it. It's almost like a screening process for threats that your brain needs to be aware of. When a threat is perceived, the internal alarms start ringing, and the brain sends out a steady stream of hormones to help counteract the danger. This is your fight or flight response, which gives you what you need to either run away from the threat or fight it. On many occasions, the amygdala perceives threats that aren't real. Your brain is often wrong. From there, you instantly make two huge mistakes. First, you misjudge the threat itself, and then you completely underestimate how well you can cope with it and how it makes you feel. Hence, the anxious feelings that everyone tries so hard to suppress. As a result, you use safety mechanisms to reduce that feeling. You press pause on your life to try to avoid danger, and you're constantly looking for a threat to your health, well-being, and survival. Understanding this is a key step toward taking back control of your life and stopping anxiety from dictating your days. Chapter 4. 3 assumptions are controlling your life and making you unhappy. For anyone who suffers from anxiety, 3 main assumptions occur regularly. These are not being able to tolerate situations where uncertainty is present, always needing to be perfect, and a sense of over-responsibility. These 3 assumptions are entirely false. It's quite possible to succeed in situations that don't give you certainty. You do not need to be perfect to be successful in life, and you certainly don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Everyone is responsible for their own health, well-being, and happiness. When anxiety takes over, we fall back into the same tried and tested patterns to cope with the negative feelings. For instance, if you have anxiety about leaving the gas on when you go out, you might check it several times before leaving the house, or even go back and check it once you've left the house and gotten into your car. The very things you are doing to control your anxiety are feeding the monkey. Jennifer Shannon. These are called safety strategies, and they are the things we do almost by reflex to distract or control our negative emotions. Jennifer Shannon talks about procrastinating on writing her first book because she was worried about how it would turn out. This was her safety strategy. When you experience anxiety, the monkey is calling you to do something, so you go back and check the gas. That is the monkey's call to action that you respond to with your safety strategy because for a short while, it makes you feel better and relieves the anxiety. Remember, the next time you feel anxious about something, observe the things you do naturally to relieve the feelings. This is your safety strategy. Chapter 5. 4 Steps to a Constant Cycle of Anxiety. Safety strategies are dangerous on many levels. You might think they're helpful because for a short time they make you feel better. But over the long term, you're actually telling yourself that what you're doing is necessary. You're enforcing the anxious thought and giving it credibility. In essence, you're continuing to feed the monkey because you're telling yourself that what you're doing to avoid, control, or check the situation is necessary because the problem really is dangerous, even when it probably isn't. As a result, the cycle of anxiety continues. Breaking the safety strategy cycle relies on challenging the thought in the first place. The cycle of anxiety goes from a perception of a threat, either actual or misconstrued, to experiencing anxiety, which forces you to employ a safety strategy for relief, and that in itself confirms the danger. The more you do this, the deeper the threat becomes embedded in your mind. To snap out of this cycle, you need to challenge the perceived threat, then stop employing safety strategies. Jennifer Shannon suggests asking yourself, what am I afraid of? What is the worst thing that could happen? And if it came true, what would it mean for me? Most of the time, you realize that the threat isn't as bad as you first thought, and if it did happen, you could cope with it. There are 2 main types of safety strategy: behavioral and mental. A behavioral strategy means you do something like double-checking to ensure the gas is turned off. A mental strategy is overthinking, researching things, and making lists to avoid forgetting something. All of this leads to worry, and worry doesn't make you happy or keep you safe. Unhealthy coping mechanisms do not help with anxiety. They worsen it over time. Jennifer Shannon suggests writing a list of the safety strategies you regularly indulge in. Once you have a completed list, challenge the list and ask how much of your time you're willing to give up in order to feel better for a short time. Once you have this information, you can make appropriate changes. Chapter 6. Leave the monkey mindset and become expansive. Once you know your specific safety strategies, you need to break them down and challenge them. This won't be easy at first, but you can do it by taking the monkey mindset and reframing it into something completely different. For instance, if you're someone who has to be sure of everything to feel safe, change your mindset to, it's okay to be uncertain sometimes. If you're someone who always must do everything perfectly, change your mindset to, I'm able to make mistakes sometimes. Jennifer Shannon calls this an expansive mindset, and it allows you to change your behavior and deal with anxiety in a new way. In addition, it helps you to have new experiences, which are necessary because they help add strength and meaning to your new expansive mindset. By doing something, you're strengthening the connections in your mind. Aim to develop an expansive mindset to challenge anxious thoughts and add a dose of positivity. By challenging your mindset, you're taking away the food that your monkey mindset relies on to fuel your anxiety. Your new expansive attitude isn't going to take away anxiety forever, but it is designed to hit the override button and give you a greater sense of control. As a result, the monkey mindset is muted. When you learn to accept the occasional negative feelings and uncomfortable situations, they lose their power. Welcome these feelings instead of instantly panicking and falling for the monkey's call to action to do something about it. Simply allow it to be. You'll be going against the perception of threat and retaining your brain to store this in the non-threatening section. All sensations and emotions, even the ones that overwhelm us, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Jennifer Shannon. Chapter 7. Turn the volume down on anxious thoughts. Jennifer Shannon refers to the anxious thoughts that chatter along in your mind as monkey chatter. The good news is that you can turn down the volume on these thoughts until they become nothing but dull white noise. Anxious thoughts do not have to be acted upon or resisted. You can let them flow in and out of your ears. Shannon suggests listening to what your monkey is telling you for a second, picking out the central thought, and then tasking yourself with 6 steps. Acknowledge and identify the problem. Come up with 4 actions that might solve the problem. Figure out the consequences of each action. Pick the best one from the list. Evaluate it over time. And pat yourself on the back when it works. You will find that the chatter becomes quieter because you're doing something proactive to stop it. So when you hear that chatter, simply say, "Thank you, monkey," and wait for it to become bored. Eventually, it will realize you're not listening. One of the main traits of an anxious person is feeling that everything has to be sure in order to feel safe. It's essential to understand that sometimes life is a little all over the place, and that's beautiful and okay. It's better to be flexible when something goes wrong rather than trying to dictate it and make it act out in a certain way. Be grateful when things go right and work out a way to deal with them when they go wrong. Remember, go with the flow of life and see where it takes you. It could lead somewhere amazing. Conclusion. Anxiety is a widespread condition, but that doesn't mean it's something you have to live with and allow to dictate your life. If you think you can control it, you need to change your mindset and behavior instead. It's the things you're doing that are fueling your anxiety. So stop doing them and you'll notice a huge difference. Of course, it's very easy to say, stop doing them. If it were that simple, you'd have solved your anxiety years ago. But with practice and time, you'll find that moving yourself away from harmful habits is far easier than you think. Give yourself some credit. You're stronger than you realize. At the moment, you're letting your monkey mind control your life, your happiness, and your future. Anxiety is nothing more than fear, and fear isn't real. It's an illusion. There are very few things in life that you can't get through or over. When the worst happens, and that's rare, you'll always find a way through. Your anxiety is telling you that you can't, that everything is going to be a disaster, but it's not. Everything will be okay. By hitting the mute button on that mischievous monkey chattering in your mind, you'll notice how everything changes for the better. You'll be calmer, happier, more sure of yourself, and able to take opportunities as they arise. You don't have to be constantly bogged down by worry and fear. You can free yourself, but first, you need to put that monkey to bed. Try this. Make a list of the safety strategies you use regularly. Learn how to use breathing techniques to deal with negative emotions. And challenge perceived threats and understand that the brain is sometimes wrong.